Hey guys, so I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about AI agents in less than 29 minutes, right? So we're going to cover three n8n workflows right here, and also some basics of n8n AI agents and what it is, right? So, and all of these three n8n workflows will be available as a free JSON template, meaning you can download all of these three right here and import that directly into your n8n and start working with it directly, right? And I will also include this free doc basically where I'm explaining what is n8n, how that compares with classic and started automations, and really just foundations for the n8n agents, guys. Okay, so that's kind of the summary of what we're gonna be covering today, guys. So if that's something that you want to learn as a beginner, make sure to stick around. And without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and dive into it right away. Okay, so some basics. So what is n8n? So n8n is basically a automation platform, right? So it can connect and automate processes and business logic between different applications and apps. For example, Google Sheets, Slack, Shopify, API, databases, right? And you connect all of that to perform a certain action, right? So the classic automation example here would be, right? So the reason why I'm bringing up classic automations in a topic about agents, because it's important to understand the difference between the classic automation, something like Zapier, and n8n, right? So the classic automation is basically when a new customer signs up, add them to your CRM, send a welcome email, and log that to Google Sheet, right? So not a lot of dynamics of happening, right? So it's not autonomous at all. So that's where agents come in, because you can plug the agent in here somewhere and it can perform dynamic autonomous actions, right? So when I say autonomous, it means that a agent can handle it can handle data and the processes and the systems with minimal guidance, right? So that's kind of the big difference here. So, and this is how classic automation, for example, looks in n8n, right? You define the rules. There's no thinking that's happening, right? Because agents and AI models, they can think, right? And decide what is the best course of action. It's really good for repetitive and structured tasks, right? So, new lead submitted on your website, it goes to your CRM, right? And then it gets logged into your, I don't know, maybe Salesforce or maybe to a custom pipeline, right? So it's really straightforward. So it's something that's always repetitive and happening that doesn't require, thinking or dynamic functionality in a sense, right? So this is how AI agents are different when comparing to classic automation. So what happens, AI agents add intelligence to automations, and I also want to highlight it adds a autonomy in a sense, right? Because you can even create a workflow in n8n and give like almost no explanation to the agent, and you will be still able to communicate with the agent and actually get something done without actually explaining what it's trying to do out of the box, right? So you connect a agent, you can give it a spreadsheets tools and maybe attach a web scraper, and by default it will understand, okay, I have access to a web scraper, I have access to a spreadsheet, and then it's going to ask you, okay, so what do you want to do? Okay, do you want me to add something to the spreadsheet? Do you want me to like web script something? So it's like that's what I mean when I say autonomy. It can understand what access and what tools it has. It can go from there with minimal guidance in a sense. But obviously, we want to guide and explain to agents what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to interact with other tools, because that's how you get that high quality, I would say, workflows that are not just AI agents but also AI agent infrastructures in a sense, right? And yeah, so AI agents can, they can reason, they can interpret and make decisions where classic automations can, because if you guys remember, it's just a straight pipeline of, if this, then that, and stuff like that, right? So it's a straight pipeline of repetitive actions. And not just that, AI agents basically they can process text, which is whatever. Like Zapier can do the same thing, but they can process text, data, images in a human-like way, right? So we're going to be covering also some n8n workflows where I'm going to show you a agent team that is basically a marketing team full of agents. How to connecting Telegram with agents, like analyzing things, creating things, right? So a lot of cool stuff, guys. And really, in a basic nutshell, the way it works, you add a agent node. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna actually show you in live how you can do that yourself. Okay, so you add a agent node. you give it a goal or instruction, okay? And then that AI agent can call other nodes, right? In the workflow dynamically. It can decide which is the node it should call to achieve whatever the request or operation it's supposed to do, right? Fetching data, making API calls, writing a database, and stuff like that, right? A lot of cool stuff, guys. Here's the comparison. Again, I'll be providing this Google Doc for free, guys, so you can use as a reference, as a learning base. So classic automation agent, right? So logic is fixed rule-based for classic automation. Agent is flexible and reasoning-based, right? Input handling needs clean, structured data, where a agent can handle messy or unstructured text images and still make something out of it, right? Adaptability, how adaptable it is. It follows predefined steps. A agent can, in opposite, it can choose which steps to run next, right? So you could explain, the structure. Okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, and it's going to follow that. But if you don't do that, it will still understand in a logical sense how things should be flowing in order to get that output or result, right? So again, here, the use case, if X happens, then do Y, and the A agent is the opposite, figure out the best way to achieve goal Z, right? So a lot of autonomy, a lot of reasoning, a lot of thinking, right? So that's kind of the huge selling point of AI agents. Okay, so I'm not going to cover the rest. If you want, get the doc and go through it. So let's actually dive into the n8n and let's get hands-on with everything. So if you're just starting off with n8n, I'm assuming you don't have it yet, okay? If you want to create an account with n8n, there's going to be a link in the comment section for the partner link. So if you want to support my account, make sure to create an account through that partner link. If not, just go to n8n, create an account, and you should have something like this, okay? So to start creating your first agent in n8n, create an account, and you're going to see basically the main dashboard in n8n, and then click here on create workflow. Okay, so everything in n8n is a workflow. That's basically the canvas of where you're going to be building your AI agents. Okay, so now let's add your first node. Okay, so in n8n is everything a node. So again, either click here or just right click add a node. So, and now you're going to search for something called AI agent. Okay, this right here. Select AI agent. Okay, and guys, congrats. You just added your first AI agent. Make sure to save right here. If you see, by default, it's going to also add a chat node, okay? Because AI agent can't do anything if it doesn't have a chat node, because that's how you basically communicate with your AI agent. But if I say something like hi, it's going to throw an error because a model is not connected, right? So AI agent still needs a AI model. And to do that, click on the chat model here and search either for OpenAI or you can do Claude, okay? So it's really up to you which model you're going to use. I'll just go, for example, with Claude right here. But again, if you want to use Claude or OpenAI, whichever, you will need to create API keys with Claude or OpenAI. So either you're going to go to API console in Claude, create API key, drop some credits on that API key, and then authenticate here. Just click here on the drop-down menu, create new credential, and here you're going to drop the API key from the API Anthropic, right? So again, go to API console, I believe, for Claude, create API key, drop some credits, and bring that API key here, copy paste, and you're gonna be good to go. Similar approach with OpenAI, go to OpenAI API platform, create an account, create API key, go to your billing, add some money to your API key because otherwise it's not gonna work. You can add something like $10, it's gonna be more than enough to kickstart. And once you add the funds, the API key should be working, all right? Okay, guys, since I'm trying to teach you more on the agent side, if you want to learn how to create API keys, add credits and stuff like that, go to my YouTube channel. I have a lot of tutorials on this, how to create API keys with OpenAI and stuff like that, guys, okay? So if you can find a video, let me know in the comments. I'll link the video as well in the comments, but it should be fairly easy to find it on my YouTube channel, okay, guys? Awesome. So now agent has the brain. So now we should be able to actually chat with our agent. So if I go and say something like hi, agent will now answer to me. Here it is. Hello, how are you doing today? Is there anything I can help you with? Okay. So out of the box, there's no prompt. If I open here, all it really has access to is the prompt or the user message, right? So even without all of that, I can say something like, what's the weather today in Montreal, because I'm in Montreal. So in Montreal, let's go with that. Okay, and it doesn't have access to anything but its own API. It's gonna hopefully give me the right weather. Let me see. Today is sunny, 24 degrees. Let's see if we can pull that data. If I'm not mistaken, Claude doesn't have real-time access to web, but it should be okay for the weather. Let's see if we can actually figure out that. Yeah, so as I expected, obviously it doesn't have a real-time weather data because Claude doesn't have a actual real-time web access. I believe ChatGPT has, Perplexity has, but Claude is actually working on a older data, right? So Claude is really optimized for working with data, with programming. So it's really the best model to use for real-time stuff, right? But what we can do though, what we can actually do, guys, this is actually a good case to show you how tools operate in agents in n8n. So you can see here I have something called tool. So I can now give Claude a real-time access to web. Okay, I can do that by clicking on the tool, and I'm gonna search for something called Tavily. And Tavily is basically a web scraper. Okay, to do that, just go to tavily.com, guys, create an account, just log in right here. And once you do, go to API keys, create your API key, and bring that API key to your n8n right here. Quick credentials, copy paste that API key in here, and then you're gonna see something connection test successfully, meaning that API key is working and it's good to go. All right. So it gives you 1,000 monthly credits, which is really good on the free plan. So every month it's going to renew the 1,000 credits, and it's more than enough to like do basic stuff with n8n, guys. Really, I've been like blasting this thing, and I still have like credits on my other account. So here for query, you want to make sure you switch here, let the model define its parameter, meaning that the AI will basically put the search query. The rest is search, that's good to go. So now we basically gave a real-time access to our agent, okay, which is using Claude. So now if I do it again, what's the weather in Montreal? The only thing I'm thinking we might need to explain to agent that it has an access to the AI tool here, because sometimes it doesn't see that if you don't explicitly say that. But let's see if it can figure that out, okay? So now it's spinning, it's accessing the Claude, and there, guys, it went to web scraper without me even telling that, hey, there is a web scraper tool. That's the beauty of AI agents. It's autonomous. It understands immediately that there is a tool attached. It's a web scraper, so I can probably use that if I can do it myself, right? So there you go, guys. So now it actually gives me a weather access, right? As of August 31, 3:15 p.m. Nice. 24 degrees, guys. Let me just make sure that it's giving me the correct data. To 24, yeah, guys, it's pretty good, guys. You can see 23. So yeah, it's close enough, guys. Cool. Awesome. So we know that the web scraper is working, and a agent knows how to use that within the flow without actually us instructing that it needs to use web scraper. Again, that's the beauty of using AI agents. So now what we want to do, we want to add a memory, because if I ask something to Claude, something like, what was my first question, I don't think it's going to be able to answer it because it doesn't have a context, right? So there's no memory. If I do that, it shouldn't be able to answer me. There you go, guys. I don't have any record of a previous question from you, okay? So if you want to give a memory to your agent, click on memory and just add simple memory, okay? And here we're going to use something called a simple memory. So it's literally a memory like we have, right? So we're giving memory to our agent, and the context window is 5, meaning that it can look back to 5 previous questions or chat, chat conversations that to chat with the agent. So you can bump it up to 10 if you want. But again, it's gonna eat your tokens more because now it needs to process more data, meaning more API, bigger API context window that it needs to send to the API and get it back. So you're just really gonna increase your API costs, okay? Obviously, not a big deal if you're doing stuff like that. But imagine if you're working with huge data sets and processing a lot of data, and you have like context window of like 50 chats, and there's like tons of data, you can literally probably like eat out all of your API credits in like one single chat conversation, okay? So be careful how you, put this one. Usually by default it's 5, so it's kind of the safe side, okay? But if you want to have more, I would say semantic or vectorized database approach, then I would suggest you go with something like Supabase or PostgreSQL, because those are actually like proper databases. Okay, so now we gave some memory to our agent. So now let's test drive that. Okay, so now again, I'm gonna ask, what's the? Actually, you know what? let me say something like, what are the latest sci-fi movies that came out recently? Okay, so it's gonna again use the web scraper, and then we're gonna check if it can retrieve that question as a memory. Okay, so now it's gonna use web scraper again, and let's see the answer. All right, so here it's listing me all the movies from 2024, upcoming 2025 releases. All right, let's see what do we have here. Jurassic World. Actually, I would love to see this one. Big fan of Jurassic. Never mind, guys. All right, so this is cool. So let's now check if it can actually reference this conversation back. So I'm gonna say, what was my previous question? Let me do this previous question. Again, it's riddled with typos. Let's send that. And now I should be able to say, hey, you asked me a question about movies. Okay. Okay, so it threw an error. Okay, my suspicion is that I added the memory while we are having conversation, and there wasn't really a session ID, right? So probably let's try that again. Okay, I'm pretty sure like 90% that's the problem, and I'm gonna say like, hey, what are the top 5 movies in 2024? Okay, so let's do it again. Because if I look at the memory nodes, okay, let me see. So the input is coming from a agent, okay, and there's content. Okay, so it is stored in the memory. Okay, so it shouldn't be a problem. Top 5 movies. I'm gonna say it's okay, and now I'm gonna say what was my question again. Okay, let me see if it can pull that from the context memory, or we just have a bug with the cloud specifically, because it works with ChatGPT, so might be an issue with the cloud. Okay, possibly it's the question that I'm asking. So let me say I will uh, go see. Let me see. I'll just choose this one. I will go see an Aurora movie. Okay, let me shoot that to cloud. Okay, so basically I'm choosing a movie, and then I'm gonna try to ask what movie. Thanks. Can you remind me again which movie did I choose? Okay. Okay, now it works. You chose Anwar. Okay, so now it actually is able to look back at the context. I believe it was a little bit unclear. It was unclear to the cloud because I said what was a question, and it basically rerun the entire search. Okay, so again, that's kind of where what you might want to prompt the agent to make sure that it doesn't make mistakes like this. But again, out of the box, it's working pretty good, guys. So that's basically the benefit of simple memory. All right. Okay, so now let me just kind of walk you through quickly what you can actually do in terms of like real life use cases for agents in n8n. So this flow right here, basically what it does, it analyzes a image that I sent through Telegram, right? So let me pull up a example from Telegram so I can kind of show you guys what does that look like, right? So I essentially sent an image like this, guys. I don't know if you can see it. I sent this image, right? And then Telegram agent from this flow basically responded me with a full breakdown of the image, right? So visual impact, strategy, and audience, right? So it kind of give me a full analysis of the ad creative here. So really useful if you're marketing and if you want to analyze what your competition does. And that's basically what it does here, right? So again, really cool and useful flow. Here we have a Telegram trigger, right? Something different. There are different triggers and n8n, right? So we have a Telegram, you can have a WhatsApp trigger, you can have a something called webhook. So webhook is basically when you are triggering data from a different place. It can be like Shopify, WordPress, or if you have like a custom e-commerce chatbot on Shopify. So you can use a webhook to connect your n8n flow with Shopify. So basically, you can have a fully custom chatbot, which business logic is stored in the n8n for like AI stuff like that, and then the actual front end is rendered out on Shopify, but they're connected, right? So that's kind of the webhook use here. So here we're using basically a split node or switch node, and we are basically looking if the photo exists or not, because then we're going to be routing the flow. So if the photo exists, then go to the OpenAI node right here, generate image, analyze the image data, send that analysis to the AI agent right here, right? So this is our AI agent. And here I'm going to show you a bit of a, I would say, beginner friendly prompting for AI agent, right? So when it comes to prompting AI agents, you always need to define what it is, what its role, and what it's supposed to do, right? So that's how you get the best results out of AI agents, right? So you are an expert in creative analyst, providing concise, actual image insights, right? And then you kind of need to break it down into structure. What do you want to get? So analysis framework, right? Be brief. Okay, if you don't suggest that should be brief or summarized, it's going to give you like a huge amount of text, which you don't really want in most cases, right? So the visual impact, strategy and audience, key recommendations. I need to describe. The recommendations can be a lot. So is it how many? So in this case, 2 to 3 actionable improvements and performance optimization tips. And then we explaining what is the expected format, right? And then we using something called expression. An expression essentially is a way, or it's a variable in a sense, to retrieve the data from the previous node, right? So if I go to my executions here, and if I open this one, right? So if I open the agent node right here, all right, you can see here. Let me just expand that. You can see the image analysis. It has something JSON.content. So $JSON is essentially a way to reference expression from previous node. And if you look here, you see its content. So this is basically what it is. You can literally take and drag and drop this in here, and that's how we get the image analysis data here. Okay, that is coming from OpenAI image node. After it analyzes the image, it sends that as a content to a agent through a JSON. Again, you don't need to write this. You can literally take and drag and drop. You can write it if you want to. If you are coming from a developer background, you can just do it yourself. You're gonna find yourself at home. And then we have the user context, right? And here I'm just really putting in the prompt or the user's name from Telegram, also an expression. And then we're sending everything to Telegram, right? And same thing, we use expressions to render out the data from the previous node into a Telegram and send that to our Telegram as a text message, right? But again, if there's no message, we are using something called error handling. Okay, it's a good practice. So meaning that if there's no image, throw an error and say basically, please upload an image for analysis, right? So a really user-friendly and kind of a clear way of understanding where is the error happening exactly. Awesome, guys. Let's move on to the workflow number 2. So this one is basically Add Creative Bot, meaning that it can create a ad creatives. So if I open this example here, guys, basically it was fully created by this AI agent, right? So it's really useful if you want to A/B test ad creatives, or your marketing, or if you're client who needs to A/B test a lot of ad creatives or kind of get inspiration and ideas. So really useful, really useful agent for that. Because in this use case scenario, all I really said in my Telegram, basically, I said create an ad for my energy drink crazy bull. Literally one sentence, and this is what it did. And that's the beauty of prompting your AI agents. So if I open the prompt right here, you can see it's a bit more extensive because here I really apply the best practice when it comes to creating ad creatives, because I'm coming from marketing. So for me, it's kind of a, again, comes naturally. So I made sure to include these best practices in this AI agent prompt for you guys, okay? So it's going to generate really nice and professional ad creatives for you, for a client, that you can just upload to Facebook ads or TikTok ads and start running ads right away, right? Again, same thing, guys. You're going to see the pattern with defining the AI agent. We need to explain what is, what's supposed to do, what's the character, what's the behavior, right? And then how should be output structured, right? So here I'm using different strategy because I want specific outputs, right? So I want to make sure that I'm getting a single concise text image prompt. Okay, it's only one image, only add one ad creative. The headline should be one line, tagline should be one short line or subheadline, and CTA should be only one. And then we're describing the environment composition, the framing, lightning. So all the best practices to make sure that our images end up looking professional like this, right? So it's something you could easily see on Facebook ads. Again, you can play around with the prompt, kind of see the environment, everything. It's going to be based on your brand and based on the product. So, but yeah, you can play around. You will always get really nice and polished ads like these from this AI agent right here. And kind of same thing, it gets the prompt, right? It gets a prompt and then it sends off to OpenAI, create an image, right? It's again, we're using OpenAI API for GPT image one. Again, that's going to be handled through your API when you create API on your OpenAI platform, okay? Same thing, we need a model for a agent as a brain. Here, we're not using memory because it's a one-time process. Every time you're going to send a request, it's going to be one-time thing. It's going to be a unique add creative each time, okay? But you can adjust it so it's a conversational agent. You can kind of go back and forth on the same add creative and kind of work on that. But in this case, for beginners, it's easier. It's a one-time thing. It's going to do one add creative at a time. Okay, guys, and the last one is really, this is a little bit more complex, but the beauty about this workflow is here that it's entirely handled by AI agents, right? So what it does, basically, it's a fully agent handled marketing team. It can basically create a full campaign for your marketing objectives, right? So it can create a campaign for your product launch, for your email marketing, ad campaign marketing, like anything marketing related. Basically, it's going to be handled by a agent. So here we're doing something cool. We have the A agent, which is CMO or Chief Marketing Officer, which is basically the brain of the marketing team, right? And this A agent has a team of specialists, right? So content and email specialist, paid ad specialist, and social media agent, right? So if you want to do social media, it's going to use this A agent to research the latest trends and how to build social media campaigns. Same thing for paid ads. If you want to run ads, it's going to use this agent and etc. Right? So then we are using a log, right? So we have two things for logs. We're using spreadsheets. This is essentially used to log to log all the strategy on a spreadsheet. So if I open my spreadsheet, you can see this is pretty extensive, strategy for whatever there was the prompt. So here we have a task name, and guys, all this was logged by a agent, right? Not manually. Which agents were used, a campaign objective, KPIs, target audience, right? Audience insights, and basically all the foundations you really need to kickstart your marketing campaign, whatever is your option, right? So that's kind of the beauty, and all this is handled by agent. And this A agent will choose exactly which A agent it needs data from, and it's going to basically run your entire workflow. And once it's going to be done, it's going to send you a Gmail email saying that, okay, it's done. Here's the summary, and here's the campaign action items and stuff like that. Okay, so all of that is done for you using this flow. So if I open up the A agent again, when you work with A agents, like prompt will be a sort of a golden nugget. You will need to really learn how to prompt them properly, because the better the prompt, the better the output. If you have weak and crappy prompts, your output will be weak and crappy. Okay, same thing. So again, overview, you guys can see the pattern explaining what it does, what it's supposed to do, the character, the behavior, and really then just explaining the specialist agents, right? So we are explaining which agents it has access to, what it's supposed to do, what kind of tools it has access to, the rules, instructions, and etc. And then the spreadsheet logging format, right? Because if I open my spreadsheet, as you can see, I'm not actually using any expressions or variables. It's all defined by the model. Okay, so that's why I'm explaining here to agent what's the expected format for each of the column and row. So I don't need to go and do expressions for each row and column manually. I'll let the agent do it because it has reference and it knows exactly how to work with that. And same thing for the specialist. Each specialist has a unique prompt, right? So again, pretty extensive. Each specialist has their own unique prompt based on the niche, right? A content and email marketing agent has a prompt based on that. And I do believe I added some resources here. I'm basically adding marketing research resources like Klaviyo, HubSpot, right? So it can actually get the latest research data from the biggest marketing platforms and the marketing resources, right? And I'm adding for each agent a web scraper, so making sure that it's the latest data that they are using, right? So that's actually how this workflow works, guys. And I will be adding all of these agents as free JSON templates, guys. So make sure to check it out. Below the video in the description box or in comments. I'm not sure which one, so make sure to check it out. And yeah, guys, if you want to learn more about agents and how to build them, and if you want to get these free JSON templates, make sure to check out my YouTube channel, subscribe, and enable notifications, because I always provide these free JSON templates so you guys can kickstart your automation and agent journey right away. And if any questions, let me know in the comments. If not, I'm gonna wish you, as always, happy building, and I'm gonna see you next time.